I'm not a confrontational person. Never have been. My name's Callie Monroe, and at 33, I've worked my way up from reception to operations coordinator at a mid-sized logistics firm in Chicago. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, the benefits are decent, and most days it's tolerable. But nothing prepares you for the quiet rage of having your lunch stolen repeatedly by some shameless ghost lurking in the office kitchen. It started small. A granola bar missing here, a can of LaCroix there. I brushed it off. Maybe someone mistook it for theirs. Then it escalated. The second week of February, I opened the office fridge to find my Tupperware completely gone. Inside had been my lemon herb chicken, roasted carrots, and a slice of sourdough I'd made myself. That night, I'd stayed up until 11 prepping meals for the week. It wasn't about the money. It was the effort, the time, the comfort I brought from home into a drab office that was slowly siphoning my soul. The next day, I labeled my lunch clearly. Callie. Do not eat. Seriously. Gone. By week 3, I wasn't even surprised anymore. I'd walk into the kitchen like some tragic sitcom character, swing the fridge door open and find my container missing or scraped empty. Sometimes I'd find the empty Tupperware in the trash, like a taunt. Like they wanted me to know I was here. I ate your damn food. And no one had seen a thing. Or they pretended not to. I started watching people more closely, who carried food in, who didn't. I noticed Gavin from marketing always sauntered in around noon empty-handed and left chewing. Smug. Loud. Always with that performative laugh and reeking of Axe body spray and entitlement. But I had no proof. And no one wanted to rock the boat. Then one day I caught a glimpse of my Tupperware in Gavin's hand. The same blue-lidded one my mom gave me in college. He was rinsing it in the break room sink. He glanced up. Met my eyes. Smiled. Hey Cal. Cute lunchbox. That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat at my kitchen table staring at the fridge. And I made a plan. I knew I couldn't just accuse Gavin. HR would want documentation. And Gavin? He had the kind of charm that turned suspicion into a joke. He'd make me sound like some uptight weirdo guarding leftovers like state secrets. So I decided to play the long game. That Friday night I cooked. Not something delicious. Something devious. I remembered a conversation I had with my sister, Natalie, over wine a few months ago. She has 2 toddlers and she told me how she once ate one of their prank jelly beans by accident. The one that tastes like rotten eggs. I nearly threw up on the couch, she'd said, laughing. They're evil. You don't forget that taste. And just like that, a plan sparked. I ordered a pack of those jelly bean pranks online. Every vile flavor imaginable. Dead fish, spoiled milk, barf. The works. But that was just dessert. The real masterpiece? My signature chicken salad sandwich. A fake version. I made 2. One for me and one for him. Mine was normal. His was filled with a can of cat food, mashed and mixed with mayo and dill. A few drops of liquid laxative, tasteless and invisible. And the grand finale, rotten egg jelly beans, blended into a mustard spread. I labeled the bag loudly. Callie. Do not touch. Contains allergens. I put it in my usual spot in the office fridge on Monday. Then I waited. The kitchen was dead quiet at noon. I pretended to make a call near the hallway corner and watched Gavin swagger in, open the fridge and do what he always did. Check over his shoulder, then swipe the bag. He didn't even hesitate. Like clockwork. He unwrapped the sandwich right there, took a giant bite and walked out of the kitchen mid-chew. I could barely contain myself. Back at my desk I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then it started. Gavin passed by the cubicles holding his stomach. His swagger. Gone. Ugh. You guys ever get that weird aftertaste in mayo? I heard him mutter. He looked pale. Maybe it's just me. I feel kinda off. He didn't make it to the end of the meeting that afternoon. People whispered that he was seen sprinting to the restroom twice. I caught him gagging quietly in the hallway. Someone joked it was food poisoning. Another said he looked like he'd eaten expired fish. And all I did was sip my LaCroix and smile politely. But I wasn't done. Because Gavin didn't know I'd recorded the whole thing on the tiny cam I'd hidden in my lunch bag. It was almost poetic. Gavin didn't show up the next day. Or the next. Word around the office was bad seafood, or some stomach bug. I said nothing. Just nodded sympathetically and warmed up my real lunch. For once untouched and exactly where I'd left it. But by Thursday he was back. And clearly not humbled. The swagger had returned, toned down maybe, but still there, like a cat that got caught knocking over a vase and just dared you to do something about it. He even made a joke to someone by the coffee pot. You guys ever eat something so gross it feels like your taste buds filed for divorce? Laughter. As always. He glanced over at me during that moment, eyes flicking across the room with that smug twinkle, like he knew what he'd done. Still thought he could get away with it. I waited. Patiently. I didn't plan to go to HR. Not yet. HR in our office was more about maintaining team harmony than actual accountability. Gavin had charm, sales numbers, and a voice that dripped confidence. I was just Callie from Ops. Reliable, quiet, replaceable. But I had my weapon. The video. I watched it that night in my apartment, curled up on the couch with a glass of Pinot. It was perfect, grainy, time-stamped footage of Gavin opening the fridge, ignoring the label, pulling out my lunch, unwrapping it, and taking that fateful bite. Then his reaction. The disgust twitch in his face. The blink. The slow chew. The pause. And then him walking out with the sandwich like he'd committed no crime at all. It was so casual. So entitled. And the best part? His dumbass took the jelly beans from the side pouch too. I'd added a few sour ones for realism, but mixed them with the rotten fish and dirty dishwater flavors. He ate those like snacks. By the next Monday I was ready. I walked into the break room at 11:53 a.m., right on cue. Gavin was already there, leaning against the counter with his Bluetooth earbuds in, tapping on his phone. He looked up when I walked in like he was about to flash that cocky smile. Instead, I pulled a small envelope from my purse. Slid it onto the counter. Didn't say a word. He raised a brow, smirked. "What's this? A love letter?" "No," I said calmly. "It's the footage. Of you stealing my lunch. Every day. Including the day you ate cat food, laxatives, and rotten jelly bean mustard." The silence was beautiful. He blinked once, still trying to calculate if I was bluffing. "You're joking." I smiled. "You want me to play the audio? I've got it backed up. Several places. One click from HR. Or your manager. Or maybe just upload it to the shared office drive." His bravado cracked just slightly. He looked away, jaw tightening. "That's blackmail." "No," I said, stepping a little closer. "This is me being nice. You humiliated me for weeks. Treated my things like garbage. Like I was invisible. All I want is for it to stop. That's it. You never touch my lunch again. You never even look in my direction when I eat. And if you do..." I tapped the envelope twice with one finger. I clicked send. There was a long pause. He swallowed hard. Then, classic Gavin, he laughed. Tried to roll it off. "Damn Callie. You're a whole villain origin story, huh?" I shrugged. "You made me hungry." That night he sent me a Slack message. Just 3 words. "You win." Message received. And from that day forward my lunch stayed exactly where I left it. Untouched, unbothered, sacred. But the story doesn't end there. Because karma, as it turns out, doesn't wait quietly in the corner. 2 weeks later I was sitting at my desk when an email hit the company inbox. From the executive team. Subject: Internal policy breach. Immediate action required. Gavin had been reported. Not by me. By someone from finance. Turns out I wasn't the only one he'd been stealing from. Snacks. Tricks. Even someone's CBD gummies, which he'd apparently tried to claim as his own. He'd triggered a random desk search, company policy after suspected substance theft, and they found more than snacks. Personal items. Headphones. A freaking USB drive someone had lost months ago. They didn't fire him. But they demoted him. Took him off client accounts. Moved his desk away from the windows. His charm didn't work this time. And no one wanted to sit near him anymore. I never even opened my envelope. Still sits in my drawer. But every time I warm up my lunch and catch Gavin looking away just a little too quickly, I smile. Because petty? Maybe. But justice? Never tasted so sweet. Some victories don't come with confetti. They come quietly, like steam rising off a hot meal no one dared touch but you. 3 months passed. Gavin kept his distance. He still strutted when he could, still wore cologne like he bathed in it, but the shine had dulled. His jokes fell flatter. People stopped laughing quite as hard. It was like he'd been deflated. A balloon slowly losing air, still floating but sagging near the edges. I never told anyone about the video. Not Natalie, not my coworkers, not even Jess from compliance who always shared her lunch and would have loved the drama. I wasn't protecting Gavin. I just realized I didn't need applause. I had something better. Peace. Lunch became sacred again. I didn't have to guard my food like a raccoon protecting a trash can. I could sit by the window, eat in silence, and just be. That might not sound like much to some people, but for me it was everything. Then something unexpected happened. It was a Thursday. Mid-April. Almost 6 months since the first lunch went missing. I was heating up leftover tikka masala when Laura, one of the junior analysts, walked into the break room glancing at the fridge nervously. She looked frustrated, maybe embarrassed. "Hey," she said softly. "Weird question. Whoever had someone take your lunch?" I blinked. I looked at her. Then at her hands, empty. Her face, tight with something just short of defeat. That very specific tiredness that only comes from being disrespected in silence. I nodded slowly. "Yeah. Once or twice." She hesitated, then whispered, "It keeps happening. To me. And Keisha too. We started labeling our stuff after one of your sticky notes a while back, but someone still takes it. Sometimes just part of it. Like they think we won't notice." My stomach turned. It wasn't over. Gavin wasn't the only one. I thought back. There were days even my food had disappeared before Gavin ever walked in. Days when he was out sick and I'd still been missing items. Maybe I was so focused on him that I missed the bigger picture. I looked at Laura and the weight in her eyes hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just about sandwiches or snacks. It was about being ignored, violated, made to feel like your space, your time, your dignity was disposable. I took a slow breath. "I might be able to help," I said. She looked at me curiously. "You serious?" I smiled. Not smug. Just steady. "Absolutely." That weekend I ordered 2 more camera pens. Tiny, motion-sensitive with a 6-hour battery and a disguised clip. We set them up Monday morning. By Wednesday we had 3 different people on video. Kenneth from IT drinking someone else's oat milk. Darla from HR casually opening a labeled salad and just tasting. And worst of all, Sandra, the facilities manager, stealing Lara's sandwich and shoving the container into her oversized tote like a shoplifter in a CVS. It was surreal. These were people we smiled at, trusted. Lara wanted to go to HR. I hesitated, because now it wasn't just about me, or even revenge. It was about the culture. So we didn't go to HR. We went to the CEO. Okay, not directly. But Jess from compliance had a soft spot for order and a burning hatred for passive-aggressive theft. I showed her one clip. She took it straight to the top. Within 48 hours, an official company-wide memo dropped. Subject: Shared Kitchen Policy Update. All food must be labeled. Fridge access is being restricted via badge tracking. Any item not yours is off limits. Repeat offenses will be treated as theft and disciplined accordingly. A camera system has been discreetly implemented. No names were listed. No fingers pointed. But people got the message. And lunches? They stayed untouched. For everyone. The next week, someone started putting post-it notes on the fridge. You are not Gordon Ramsay. You do not need to taste. It's a fridge, not a buffet. Steal food? Go eat consequences. And weirdly, a kind of quiet unity formed. People started talking more in the break room. Swapping recipes. Sharing leftovers by choice. It wasn't dramatic. No one got dragged publicly. No careers were ended. But something shifted. Something real. And as for Gavin? He never stole again. He never apologized. He didn't need to. I already had what I wanted. Not revenge. Respect. So yeah, he kept stealing my lunch. And I made sure he never touched it again. But in the end, I gave that fridge back to every single person who ever opened it and wondered if today was the day they'd go hungry because someone didn't think they mattered. Now they know they do.